Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption.
Hey, good evening everybody. It's Militiaman. He just decided at the last second to just jump on in, and I thought, well, okay, fine. Hey, look, I think there's quite a few people that keep coming to us and saying, we don't know how to find you. You can find us at www.patreon.com/MMANDCREW for MM and Crew. So you guys come see us and check us out, okay? That's a good place to find us. You'll find the Super Samson, our news professional. You'll find myself with some analysis. We have wonderful Gigi as admin. We have Greg as an admin, and we have many others, right? So come on in and check us out. Petra's been on fire the last few days. Poppy Peter had a wonderful audio today. Gives some details, specifically a lot of questions that get asked for the last few years. A lot of folks just are relatively new, but then there's a lot of folks that ask the same question and get the same answer, and that is in respect to their 1310 exchange rate. So you see and hear a lot of things on the internet, but I think that if you come into our room in our Discord platform, our chat room there, you'll find that questions can be answered and information can be looked up quite easily to answer a lot of questions on your own. So, but come on, check us out at patreon.com/MMANDCREW. So we'll see you guys soon. To get started, there's been some really good information lately. We had the deputy of the central bank of Iraq. He's come out and basically stated that Iraq's inflation has decreased. It has gone from about 7% to about 3.7%, and I think that is a significant amount. I think they were being quite bashful when they said it had, a noticeable decrease. Well, from 7% to 3.7%. It definitely would be noticeable. It says the central bank established the Riyadh Bank for small business enterprises. They're basically suggesting that what they've done is they've brought their inflation rate down. They've got the tools that they need to support the economy going forward to a private sector. They have the guarantee company, which is a deposit guarantee company. So what are they looking at with that? Well, investors need that. And you're going to find that as we get through this, before the end of the day, there's going to be a key point that one of the things about the IMF wants freedom of capital movement. And I think that we have an article that supports that because of partnerships with the private sector and the partnerships with the government of Iraq. Because partnerships with the private sector and international companies will require freedom of capital movement. So that is something that we are going to touch on in brief. This article here today is interesting about the Parliamentary Finance Committee. His name is Atwan Al-Atwani. He's confirming that they've established partnership with the International Partners Foundation. I think this is possibly what we're talking about here is the freedom of capital movement. They're going to provide what? They're going to provide international assistance to Iraq. And some of this theme tonight about this is going to be assistance, because you're going to find that the World Bank, the WTO, the IMF are all in support of Iraq. And they have pledged the ITC, right? The International Trade Center. They're basically involved in, which by the way is an extension to the UN, in sustainable development and helping Iraq become a strong foundation of a market economy, and with the private sector in that partnership. So the chairman of the Finance Committee, the House of Representatives, he says he's discussing ways of sustainable development, keywords, in Iraq, and to overcome the state of maintaining rents for the national economy. So in other words, what they're trying to say is rents, typically it's oil, but now they're moving towards non-oil. And you're going to find that this IMF Article 4 consultation conclusion is phenomenal. something that I've never seen before, and I don't think anybody else has, and I've run it past the crew, and I haven't found anybody that says they've seen it before in the manner that I'll present. I think it's powerful information that everybody should know, and take it seriously, because this is your investment and you should understand where do you stand. And I think we understand that our situation is bright. Whether it's going to be tonight or tomorrow is going to be something to be determined, but it's bright. It's bright. He goes on to say that the country's made important strides in the process. Oh, I'm sorry, back up. Iraq is currently seeking a gradual transformation from a single economy to a diversified, integrated one, which is maximizing non-oil revenues and making them an important basic resource for the general budget. Okay, well, what's that for? Ahead to where I was, through the tripartite budget. Pompey Peters' audio today, if you haven't seen it, you should come into Patreon, because that's where that's going to be. You'll find that he has a very brief explanation, and he tells you where in Discord you can find some of that information. And the good part about it is that his concise, clear data, Super Samson's information that we're providing to you tonight is crisp and it's clear. It's relevant data, and it's real time. So the establishment of a partnership project with the International Partners Foundation, the Finance Committee is really keen on that, right? They go on to say, in turn, the head of the international delegation confirmed the foundation's readiness to provide assistance to parliamentary committees in developing their expertise on how to monitor budgets and spending and disbursement of funds for their designated places, which are what? Projects. The delegation proposed holding workshops to develop strategic plans to determine priorities, expressing the readiness to provide assistance in all matters related to these projects. That's what the tripartite budget's about. Two different sides to the budget. There's an operational side, which is, of course, paying specific bills, etc., but there's also the investment side. And what we're talking about when we're talking about disbursement for funds to designated places, we're going to be talking about the investment side. That's that tripartite budget. That's why you haven't seen a lot of the stuff that everybody's been expected, because you haven't seen the salaries being paid properly, you haven't seen the projects done, and you've also noticed that the decisions made from the federal government have been in place, and they're working to that extent to actually accommodate those decisions, because they have to, and they're going to need to do so. So what we're going to see is that you take into consideration this bigger picture. It's not just about one flip the switch. It's about a lot of different processes. It's very complex, and it's not just about Iraq. I've said before, it's about Iraq, but it's also about many other countries. So it's about Iraq, but not all about Iraq. The association of two private banks, the advisor to those, Samir al-Nasuri, praises the minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani for the procedures the central bank and private banks have achieved in their banking reforms, not unlike the World Bank, not unlike the IMF. And you'll see that in the conclusion of the Article 4 article. It says that the central bank launched in 2023 enabled economy to recover and achieve good growth rates. So basically what they're saying here is that they're leading into what the conclusion is for the IMF. They developed a detailed roadmap, right? The roadmap included diagnosing the deficiencies and developing solutions, accompanied by the central bank reconsidering the tools and applications of monetary policy and focusing its plans on achieving priorities that are based on achieving financial and banking reform first. So they had to do that. That's what they've been working on this for over a year. The MCOE, the Ministerial Council of Economics, came into play in November, right after al-Sudani took in his place in October. So they reiterate the fact that especially the recent reports out of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, that their acknowledgement that Iraqi economy in 2023 left fragility. So the article today about the fragility that they talked about from Bloomberg, for instance, I don't know that they have it right, because here it says specifically the World Bank and International Monetary Fund acknowledgement that the Iraqi economy in 2023 left fragility. Okay, so there's that article out today that people were, making like concerned about. But they said they've gradually recovered and achieved an inflation rate at an annual of 3.7%, which I had already mentioned, which is the lowest rate in comparison against the 7% in January 2023. So here they are. What else have they done? They've made their growth rate in non-oil up by 5%. This Al Nusari, when he talks, everybody pretty much listens because he's been around for a long time. He's been a very good indicator of what's going on, very well trusted. He's been vetted. He goes on to say that the measures were also supported by the serious approach of the government and the central bank to move and transform the cash economy to the digital economy. All right, so we remember the digital economy. Isn't that what Saleh was saying? We're going to have a major announcement to somewhere along the road. So he did that in late December of 2023 and said there were going to be a major announcement in respect to what? The digital economy. And have we seen it yet? I'm not so sure. But he's going to focus on developing electronic payment systems. We already see them having done that. Securing the infrastructure for that. Yep, we've seen that. Establishing a national company for payment systems. They are open and had meetings on that today. There's so much information that I can't cover everything, but they had meetings on that, specifically the national payment system, within the last 48 hours. Considering the structure of banking financing, preparing to launch the national lending strategy, establishing a leadership bank, I believe that would be the Riyadh Bank, to finance small and medium enterprises to reconsider the structural, regulatory, and supervisory structures of the bank's specialized departments. Basically, it says that the important basic priority of the central bank is working on includes preparing to launch the financial inclusion strategy. The financial inclusion strategy has been ongoing for about 5 years. And so at this stage of the game, it sounds like they're flat out ready to go. He says all these reform measures were completed under difficult and complex circumstances during 2023. And continuous communication, support, harmony, cooperation, support, and supervision between the Minister of the Prime Minister, Shia al-Sudani, the Governor of the Central Bank, Al-Alaq, which enabled the economy to recover and advance, and the problems and obstacles to banking work were inevitably overcome. Okay, so that's what they said. That's real time. So the next thing is that what are they going to do? They have other things going on, broad picture, okay? It says that the Parliamentary Oil and Energy Committee, Odeh Al-Nashi, called on the government headed by Shia al-Sudani to do something. What was it? Expedite sending the federal general budget for the current year of 2024. Okay, so he goes on to say that there are government projects that are assigned to the governance that require accelerating the financial coverage in order to raise the ceiling for work and complete them within the specified timetables. We all know that Shia al-Sudani has been talking about specified timeframes for quite some time, and the guy has been boom, 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 boom. It's almost like those tenders. They had to be done by the 20th of December. And then projects, they got to be done. Well, now we're watching for what? The decision from the court to do what? Pay salaries, oil and gas, other things, right? Making sure they're audited. All of that stuff's at play right now. So they want to expedite the 24 budget schedule for a vote to speed up the launch of this year's projects. What are those for? In obviously 2024. The next item is that in Iraq, there was a memorandum of understanding in the field of digital transformation with electronic governance between who? Saudi Arabia and Iraq. For what? For support. It says there's been an agreement to sign a memorandum of understanding in the field of digital transformation. For what? E-governance. It says that the President Ali Moayed met with the Governor of the Communications, the Space and Technology Commission, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, And I'll just get to the point. It says the meeting took place on the sidelines of Iraq's participation in the International Mobile Conference with the files of digital economy, the development of digital skills, the opening of horizons of cooperation, there again between Iraq and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia regarding regulatory affairs in the formation sector, narrowing the digital gap, and supporting business incubators were discussed. So again, it's just about support. Saudi Arabia has been there for the WTO. They did the up to 15 years worth of work in 1 year, and they're supporting them digital transformation. The UN's 2020-30 plan for Iraq and Egypt and Saudi Arabia is a digital transformation portion of it combined. You have the World Trade Organization involved in that, the World Bank, IMF, everybody's doing the same thing. They're all in support of Iraq. Here, this particular statement comes out of the ministerial conference on the 13th. It was actually stated on the 26th on behalf of the government of the Republic of Iraq. It says that the National Committee on Iraq's accession to the WTO was made distinguished efforts to align domestic legislation and laws with the WTO agreements and have the technical requirements of accession fulfilled. Powerful statement. The government of Iraq in 2022, through its comprehensive reform strategy, became or had been keen to create a market-based economy, which we're seeing getting rid of corruption and enacting economic laws, and believing that accession to WTO is a priority. So that was in 2022. And now we're on the back of 2024. And what do we have? They're still in meetings. They were in meetings up till today, and now they're extending out till tomorrow. But back up a little bit, it said the finalizing key negotiation documents, including initial market access offers on goods and services, in addition to taking significant steps to enhance collaboration with the WTO Secretariat Accession Division, the most important of which is organizing a visit for Iraq's Working Party chair in Baghdad in January of 2024. Why do I bring that up? It's because that's what they did. They had finalizing key negotiation documents on the table in 2024 in January. So at the end of the day, they come out and say right after MC13, Iraq will submit its initial market access offers on goods and services and prepare for holding the third working party meeting that would set the stage for negotiations with member states. I find this to be somewhat of a contradiction. I would suggest that everybody read it on their own. You can find it in Patreon. I've got it posted, and I did a piece on it. But I'll tell you what. They already talked about finalizing negotiation documents in January. So right after the MC13 could mean something else. And what is right after MC13? Is that the next day? Is that 2 weeks? Is that 1 month? Or is that going to be 2 years? I highly doubt, with all the stuff that we're giving you guys, that is even in the table, because they actually have Iraq with the best informative conclusion that we've ever seen from the IMF on a country. So before I get all into the IMF's document, but the bottom line is that these guys are talking about that they have the technical requirements, accession fulfilled, negotiating documents for market access offers on goods and services. That sounds like they've got pricing. I think if you're going to have pricing for goods and services, trade in services, I think you're going to find that they have to have freedom of capital movement. I think they probably also have to have an exchange rate being flown around or communicated. Keep in mind, these guys keep things hush-hush because that's part of their process, is that it's you have to be responsible. You can't be doing and saying things that aren't public. If you go to the WTO's website, you'll find a lot of this stuff. Everything that I have here right in front of me is public information, but they have restricted until they decide. I think they could have a window of opportunity to get some of that information. I think they might last for 45 days, but 45 days from now, it'll be irrelevant. It'll be just a reporting issue after the fact. So on the 26th of November, it says that the business environment was good. It says Iraq has completed the requirements for membership to the WTO organization after completing economic reforms and improving the business environment. So that's on the 26th. Again, it says out of its belief in the importance of being part of the global multilateral trading system and for Iraq to return to an influential position in the global economy. So on the 26th, they said that big mouthful. They also said, they pointed out that the conference gives an important message to countries of the world regarding the importance of the Iraq joining this organization. So that's 26th. Fast forward a little bit to the 27th. It says Iraq has completed all preparations within the timetable for it by the organization to integrate its commercial operation with the business around the world, stressing that Iraq is now able to enter the global trade market through the organization on a large scale. That's on the 27th. Okay. Then they say that the application remained pending until conditions for the entry into the international organization were met, which they have now ended. 27th. So, you guys get the picture. I think we kind of hammered that home, that Iraq has the attention of the world when it comes to ascension. We have powers. We have more than just what we just talked about there. What the WTO, we have the World Bank, we have the ITC, we have Saudi Arabia, I think the country of Armenia, we have the International Foundation for Corporations. I could have probably misquoted that one, but bottom line is, what do they need with that? They need freedom of capital movement. That's Article 8 compliance. When they say they have partnerships with the private sector and international companies, that is basic, and you have all the support from the IMF, World Bank, etc., for Iraq, the ITC, to move to a market economy, and they have a private sector and they have partnerships. You have to have freedom of capital movement, which would be considered Article 8 compliance. Okay, back to the conclusion. Here we go. Back to this conclusion of the discussions of the International Monetary Fund expert mission in Amman amid diverse and sustainable economic optimism. It says here that Finance Minister Taif Sami concluded today its discussions with Article 4 mission of International Monetary Fund experts in Amman, during which the implementation of the economic reform program and the important improvements, achieved by the Iraqi government in the field of development, infrastructure, financial sustainability, maximizing non-oil revenues were reviewed. It goes on to say that Iraq delegation confirmed the fund promised to support development programs. There you have it, the fund, the IMF, to support the development programs. They're on the backside of Iraq. Advanced public financial management, digital transformation, just like Saudi Arabia, digital transformation, banking, retirement, customs sectors, the ICE quota system. We talked about that the last video. To enhance private sector participation, private sector, international companies, right? Efforts through investment incentives, infrastructure, and reconstruction, indicating its intention to continue discussions and consultations during the fund's periodic annual reviews. So here's the IMF giving a wonderful report, which you probably have never seen before. When I get finished, you're going to go, wow, there's not one thing negative about this. That's how much they're in support for this. Go to the SFA agreement and read it. You're going to find that there's a lot of negative in there. Maybe not today, but there was in the past. It says the fund's mission praised the achievement of good progress in many financial monetary aspects in the areas of transparency, control, provision of financial statements, and rationalization of expenditures, in addition to the strong return in the growth of the non-oil sector during 2023. With a noticeable decline in inflation rates. And this is reflected in the decline in food and energy prices. Now, okay, hold on a second though. I'm going to back up. I said nothing negative. Okay, that's probably the closest to negative you're going to get, is that it says only a noticeable decline. I gave you the numbers. 7% to 3.7% decline from 7% inflation to 3.7%. That they only call it a noticeable decline. All right, so anyway, I think that's kind of a humorous thing. But it's positive, you guys. Really think about that. But the mission basically welcomed the government plans aimed at strengthening public financial management, welcoming the steps taken by the government to establish their unified treasury account. We know that's been around for quite some time. Improving their cash liquidity and management. You go, wait, how does that work? They're saying that they don't have liquidity, but they do. I'm going to go with these guys. There's a reason for that. They're going to have liquidity. But they also said that they have increased their tax base, as well as reviewing the customs tariff structuring and achieving more targeting towards social support and care for their people. And so they're giving them kudos for that. In the same context, the mission expressed their optimism about the level of understanding and progress achieved from the government, coordination steps, joint consultations that will be completed in the future and or the near term. So basically, they're saying it's noteworthy that Article 4 consultations are basically bilateral meetings that are held annually with the International Monetary Fund and member states, and with fund experts. But I'd like to note that to everybody that to the WTO had the 4 days, and they added an extended day. These, as it says right here, it talks about the bilateral meetings from the International Monetary Fund. They have these meetings and these consultations with Iraq every year. They usually complete them on or around late year, like for instance, late November, early December, or even into late December. And then they publish in January or February. Most notably at the very beginning of February. They didn't do it this time. It's the 29th that they published an awesome report, one with no negativity, which was seriously lagging when it said only a noticeable decline in inflation. So anyway, you get the picture, right? The MC13 extension by 1 day, Friday, they talk about that. So it's going to be tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I think, Abu Dhabi time. And why did they do that? Well, they said for main issues, and they don't explain that. But today they kind of gave you a sidebar and said, well, maybe it was because possibly that there was a main point could have been from Brazil. Scuttlebutt out there suggests that Iraq has interest in being part of the BRICS. Well, they don't show that, they don't state that. But interestingly enough, tomorrow is the first. The accession system is supposed to be doing taxation tomorrow. They talked about moving this, extending this to tomorrow, the WTO meetings. They didn't say it was all about Iraq. Nobody said it was all about Iraq. But guess what? Iraq was involved in all these meetings. They were showcased. I just read to you that they met all the conditions. They said they did. And so, fair enough. Why? We're going to find out. We're going to see. I think it's exciting. And then back to the freedom of capital movement. Real fast, it says that the Turkish company is coming in, and this is to my point when it comes to the freedom of capital movement. They go on to say that Mohammed Shia al-Sudani confirmed today investment environment in Iraq has become promising, welcoming, and open. And we'll go on to say that what are they working towards? This company will be specializing in transportation and construction projects. That is what? The investment side of the tripartite budget. And it goes on to say it's especially the areas of infrastructure and transportation projects, what is related to the development road project, and the Grand Alpha port as well as the roads and bridges and industrial city projects in various governments. So you guys going to think about it. How are you going to fund that at 1310? Please come check out Pompey Peter's audio today. He addresses this, and I think he does it brilliantly. The technical and operational experience explains that the investment environment in Iraq is becoming promising, welcoming, and open environment. But it says especially after the financial, administrative, and banking reforms took their course, and the private sector was qualified to conclude fruitful partnerships with international companies. There you have it. Freedom of capital movement. Nobody's coming in to do business if they can't get their money out. That article right there is I love it. And then last thing I'm going to say is the federal court implemented a key component, because they're basically stating that they're happy about the Kurdistan region federal employees opening bank accounts, creating bank cards, etc. So that what are they going to be doing? They'll have the facilities to be able to pay their salaries, and it's going to be provided by the Iraqi Financial Supervision Bureau. And the region's Ministry of Finance has done everything necessary to cooperate and coordinate. So with all this said and done, at the last moment, it looks like the federal court has put pressure on the Kurdistan region to be able to do what? When this transition happens, they'll be able to pay their citizens electronically, they'll do it fairly, and they're going to do it whether the Kurds like it or not. I think that's the way it turns out. So I want to say last thing, a couple bullet points before we go. What did we go over? There's key inflation is down by a significant amount. Assistance from the World Bank, IMF, ITC, UN, etc., Saudi Arabia, all in line. Return reforms completed under complex circumstances. They've hammered that out. Expediting the 2024 budget with the Kurds. They're ready. I just mentioned that. Digital transformation, additional support from Saudi Arabia. The accession requirements fulfilled, completed. IMF, there's no negative comments in the report whatsoever. Extension of 1 day for what? Article 4, same day, conclusion, all of that by the late week. I don't know, we'll find out. Was the timing of the extension, that extra day, in coordination with the awesome report from the IMF? Article 4 is about exchange rates. Article 8 is about freedom of capital movement. We talk about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a report, and I'm glad you guys are with us. What an awesome time to be an investor in the Iraqi dinar. So if you like our content, hit that subscribe button and or like. And if you like the content, we have that PayPal, and we have the Zelle and Venmo.
Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.